Hi everyone, I'm Kelly. Welcome to my channel. I took the high-speed train from Beijing to Shanghai, a journey that felt like traveling between two different chapters of the same story. By the time I arrived, Shanghai was already wrapped into its shimmering night. My first stop was the old street near Yongan Department Store, corner of Shanghai where history whispered through every storefront. And as I walked towards the Huangpu River, Shanghai reveals its iconic growth. The Bund lit up in gold, buildings rising like memories, and dreams standing side by side. To end the night, I found a small restaurant and ordered a bowl of黄鱼花蛤粉. Warm, fresh, comforting, the perfect way to taste my first evening in Shanghai. This is where my Shanghai story begins. Walking into Yongan Street feels like stepping into a gentle blend of old Shanghai and modern city life. This area grew around the historic Yongan Department Store, one of the most iconic commercial landmarks of early 20th century Shanghai. Back then, Yongan was known as one of Shanghai's four great department stores, a symbol of the city's prosperity and its early connections to global culture. Even today, as you walk through the street, you can still feel traces of the golden era. In the vintage facades, the warm shop lights, and the craftsmanship hidden in small storefronts. Lisa Street now mixes traditional artisans with modern flavors. Silver craft shops, where each piece is carefully hammered by hand, street food stores steaming with local snacks, and neon signs glowing softly above the clouds. It's a place where the pace slows down, where you can wander without rush, and where every corner feels like a small chapter of Shanghai's living history. If you listen carefully, you might even hear the quiet whisper of old Shanghai. Stories carry food shop signs, food aromas, and the soft glow of the evening lights. Inside this small silver craft shop, the noise of the city fades, and what remains is the quiet rhythm of craftsmanship. Here, every piece of silver is shaped by hand, hammered, polished, and engraved, not rushed, not mass-produced, but slowly brought to life. Shanghai has a long tradition of Haipai Gongyi, a blend of Chinese technique and Western artistic influence that grew during the city's early cosmopolitan years. You can see it in detail, a curve influenced by European design, a pattern rooted in Chinese symbolism, and the confidence to mix the two. Standing here, watching the craftsman work, feels like watching time move at an older, gentler pace. In a city filled with neon lights and skyscrapers, places like this remind me that Shanghai isn't just fast, it's also delicate, patient, and full of stories shaped by human hands. The moment I step into this snap streak, the whole atmosphere shifts, from quiet city lights to warm, familiar pulse of every life. Steam rising from food stores, voice blending into the night, and that comforting sense of something cooking. Simple, warm, and human. Shanghai is known for its skyline, but places like this remind me that its soul lives in the small corners, in favors shared by strangers, and in the kindness exchanged over a bowl of something hot. Street food here carries stories, from traditional bites that locals grew up with, to new recipes shaped by ever-changing city. Walking through this street feels like being welcome, not just as a visitor, but as someone briefly slipping into the everyday rhythm of Shanghai life. Sometimes, the best way to understand a city is not through its landmarks, but through the food that warms its nights. Leaving the warmth of the snap streak behind, I followed the glow of the light toward the river, as if the city was guiding me somewhere quieter. The sense of sizzling pans and laughter slowly faded, replaced by the gentle hum of the night breeze. Here, the streets widened, the air cooled, the rhythm of Shanghai begins to shift once again, and as I approached the Huangpu River, the city opened up in front of me, golden, glowing, almost dreamlike. This is Shanghai that lives in postcards and memories, the skyline that has watched decades of stories rise and fall, moving from the warmth of everyday life to the brilliance of the Bund, felt like walking through two different heartbeats of the same city. And in these gentle transitions, I felt Shanghai revealing another side of itself, quiet, luminous, and endless inviting. Standing by the Huangpu River, I felt as if Shanghai had quietly opened another chapter of itself, one written entirely in light. Across the water, the Bund shimmered in gold, each building glowing like a memory the city refused to let go of. Old European facades, modern skyscrapers, and neon reflections waving across the river, all standing together as if time itself decided not to choose. The wind was soft, the lights warm, and the city felt both grand and gentle at the same time. Watching the boats glide slowly across the river felt like watching stories drift between the past and the present. And in this glowing moment, I realized that Shanghai is not a city you simply look at. It's a city you feel, in the lights, in the river, in the quiet space between voices. Tonight, standing by the Huangpu River, I felt the city breathe, steady, confident, endless alive.
好的，谢谢你。好的，上齐了。
The boat arrived steaming, golden broth, tender yellow croaker, and fresh clams tucked gently beneath the surface. It looks simple, but somehow it carries the warmth of the home-cooked memory. The kind of the fish that doesn't try to impress you. It just quietly comforts you. The first sip of the broth was soft and clean, the kind of the flavor that makes you pause for a second, because it feels right. The noodles were gentle, the fish delicate, the clams adding a quiet sweetness to the night. And as I sat there eating, the whole day suddenly felt complete in the simplest way. And that's how my first night in Shanghai ended, not with something grand, but with something warm, a bowl of comfort, a quiet streak, and a city that shines both loudly and softly. Thank you for spending this evening with me. In the next episode, we will explore more of Shanghai, its story, its flavors, and its beautiful contrasts. See you in the next one. Good night from Shanghai. If you enjoyed this journey, feel free to like, subscribe, and join me for more stories. Thank you. Bye bye. See you next time.